The check engine light on my government-issued Suburban started flashing just as I merged onto Highway 287. The engine coughed, sputtered, then died completely. I managed to coast to the shoulder, my equipment rattling in the back as the vehicle shuddered to a stop. "Perfect," I muttered, stepping out into the humid Texas morning. 3 supercells were developing over the panhandle, and my team needed real-time ground observations. I pulled out my phone and called Lauren. "Hey, babe," she answered on the third ring. "Already heading out? Truck's dead. Just outside of town on 287. Can you come get me?" "Nathan, I have the Henderson meeting at 9. It's that huge corporate gala, remember? I've been preparing for weeks." "Right?" I checked the radar on my phone. The cells were developing faster than predicted. "What about your BMW? Could I borrow it?" There was a pause. "My BMW? For storm chasing? I'll be careful. I just need to get to the weather station, grab the portable equipment, then position for the storms. I'll have it back by tonight." "I don't know, Nathan. That car is—" "Lauren, please, this system could produce significant tornadoes. We need data for warnings." Another pause, longer this time. "Fine. But please, Nathan, be careful with it, and fill it up when you're done. You're a lifesaver. I'll call roadside for the truck." 20 minutes later, Lauren pulled up behind my disabled vehicle. She stepped out wearing one of her power suits, the navy one that meant serious business. Her expression was less than thrilled. "Here," she said, handing me the keys. "I can work from home after the meeting. Just don't get it damaged by hail or something." "I know how to avoid hail cores, Lauren." "Right, your storm science." She glanced at her watch. "I need to go. Henderson's sending a car for me." "Thanks for this. I mean it." She softened slightly, kissing my cheek. "Be safe out there. Those clouds look angry." "Angry clouds are my specialty." She rolled her eyes, a hint of a smile appearing. "Call me when you're heading back." A Blacktown car pulled up, presumably her ride to the meeting. As she walked toward it, she called back, "And Nathan, maybe check with the dealer about your truck. This is the third breakdown this year." The BMW was immaculate, as always. Lauren treated this car like a shrine. Leather seats that still smelled new after 3 years. Not a fingerprint on the dashboard. Floor mats that looked fresh from the factory. Such a contrast to my work truck with its weather equipment, mud-caked floors, and coffee-stained everything. I adjusted the seat and mirrors, then noticed the GPS screen showing recent destinations. Force of habit made me glance at it. I'm always observing patterns, whether atmospheric or otherwise. That's when I saw it. 1247 Maple Grove Drive. The address had been visited 4 times in the past week. Tuesday at 4:15 p.m., Thursday at 3:47 p.m., Friday at 4:33 p.m., Monday at 4:08 p.m. Each visit lasted between 2 and 3 hours. I didn't recognize the address. My finger hovered over it on the touchscreen. One tap would show me the route. But the storms were developing, and Maria Santos was already texting me about the tower going up on the first cell. "Where are you?" her message read. "This thing's about to pop." I made a mental note of the address and headed for the weather station. The chase that day was everything we'd hoped for. The supercell tracked perfectly along the predicted path, allowing us to maintain safe positioning while documenting the entire mesocyclone evolution. Maria and I were stationed 10 miles apart, providing crucial dual-perspective data. "Nathan, you seeing this rotation?" Maria's voice crackled through the radio. "Roger that. Velocity couplets tightening. We're about to get a tornado. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, a perfect elephant trunk funnel descended from the wall cloud. We tracked it for 23 minutes before it roped out harmlessly in a field. Beautiful data, Maria said when we met up afterward. This'll help the forecast office big time. Yeah, great structure on that storm. But my mind kept drifting to that address. 1247 Maple Grove Drive. That evening, I pulled into our garage at 7:30. Lauren's BMW was tucked in the middle spot where she always parked it, which meant she'd gotten it back from wherever she'd had it today. The house smelled like Chinese takeout. In here, she called from the living room. She was on the couch, wine glass in hand, watching some reality show about wealthy women arguing over charity galas. Her laptop was open beside her, presumably still working. "How were the storms?" she asked without looking up. "Productive. Got an EF2 on the ground for about 20 minutes. Great data on the velocity structure. That's nice." She took a sip of wine. "Your truck situation sorted?" "Getting towed to Mitchell's tomorrow. Transmission, they think. Expensive? Probably. But the government covers it." "Thank goodness for that." She finally looked at me. "You hungry?" I got extra lo mein. "Thanks. Hey, what's at 1247 Maple Grove Drive?" The wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. For just a second, maybe two, she was completely still. Then she took the sip and set the glass down carefully. "Maple Grove?" "Oh, that's Jennifer Dalton's place. New client. She's doing a product launch for her skincare line. Very demanding. Wants everything perfect." "You've been there a lot this week," she laughed, that bright laugh she used for dismissing things. "Tell me about it. 4 meetings just to decide on napkin colors. These rich housewives have way too much time on their hands." "Napkin colors take 2 to 3 hours to decide?" "You know how these consultations go. We have to review everything. Catering menus, decoration themes, entertainment options. Plus, she always wants to chat about her divorce. Going through a messy one, apparently. Sounds tedious. It pays well. Speaking of which, I might have another late meeting with her tomorrow." "These evening consultations are killing me, but she insists that's the only time she's free." That night, I lay awake thinking about the address. Something felt off. Lauren had been having a lot of evening meetings lately. Coming home at 8 or 9 p.m., always with perfect explanations. Traffic. Difficult clients. Last-minute emergencies. I grabbed my phone and did something I'd never done before. I Googled the address. 1247 Maple Grove Drive was a residential property. That much was clear from the satellite view. Nice neighborhood, big houses, mature trees, the kind of place where Lauren's wealthy clients would live. But when I searched for Jennifer Dalton at that address, nothing came up. I tried various spellings, checked social media, even looked for business registrations. No Jennifer Dalton on Maple Grove Drive. I switched to the county assessor's website. Property records are public information, one of those government transparency things most people don't know about. I typed in the address. Owner. Connor Hayes. The name hit me like a microburst. Connor Hayes. I knew that name. Where did I know that name? Then it clicked. Lauren's college boyfriend. The one she'd dated for 3 years before we met? They'd been serious. She'd even lived with him senior year. But he'd gone to law school in Dallas, and they'd broken up. She always said it was mutual, that they'd just grown apart. Ancient history, she'd called it, when I'd asked about him early in our relationship. Haven't talked to him in years. I searched for Connor Hayes. attorney, Dallas. Multiple results came up. Then I modified the search. Connor Hayes, attorney, our city. There he was. Connor Hayes, divorce attorney. Specialty, high asset divorces. Recently relocated from Dallas. The profile on his firm's website showed a man in his late 30s, silver already touching his temples, expensive suit, confident smile. The bio mentioned his recent return to the city after 15 years in Dallas, building a practice focused on protecting assets during life transitions. According to the State Bar website, he'd been licensed here for just 8 months. 8 months. Right around the time Lauren started having all these evening meetings. Saturday morning, I told Lauren I needed to check equipment at the weather station. On a Saturday? She barely looked up from her phone, thumbs flying over the screen as she typed. Radar calibration can't wait. New systems being installed Monday. Need to prep for it. How long? Few hours, probably. You doing anything today? Lunch with my mother. You know how she gets if I cancel. Her mother lived in Houston, 2 hours away. They usually met halfway when they did lunch, which hadn't been for at least 6 months according to the calendar on the fridge. Tell her I said hi. Will do. Oh, can you pick up my dry cleaning on your way home? The ticket's on the counter. Sure. I drove to the weather station first. Had to make it real in case anyone asked. Spent 45 minutes there. Actually did check some equipment, chatted with Bob, the weekend tech. Surprised to see you here, Bob said. Thought you'd be home after yesterday's chase. You know me. Can't stay away from the radar. Your wife must be a patient woman. She has her own life, I said. Busy career. We make it work. From the station, I drove to Maple Grove Drive. It was exactly what I'd expected from the satellite images. Old money neighborhood, the kind with HOAS, that regulated mailbox colors and lawn height. Number 1247 was a colonial-style house. Black shutters, circular driveway, detached 3-car garage. A black BMW sat in the driveway. Newer model than Lauren's, probably an M5. I parked 3 houses down at a small park, pretending to check my phone while watching. The house looked lived in but not family occupied. No toys in the yard, no minivan, nothing that suggested wife and kids. Bachelor pad for a successful divorce attorney. An hour passed, then another. At 11:47 a.m., Lauren's white BMW turned into Connor's driveway. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I watched my wife of 9 years walk to his front door. She was wearing the new dress, the red one she'd bought last week for the Patterson anniversary party. Her hair was styled differently, wavy instead of straight. She knocked once, then used a key to let herself in. A key. She had a key to his house. I sat there for another hour, part of me hoping I was wrong, that she'd emerge quickly with party planning materials or contracts to sign. But she didn't come out. At 1 p.m., I drove to the dry cleaner, picked up her clothes, went home. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and did what I do best: research. Connor's divorce had been finalized 8 months ago. Court records are public too, and his were illuminating. Contentious split. His ex-wife, Patricia Hayes, had taken him for nearly $3 million. She got the house in Dallas, the vacation home, most of the investment accounts. He'd fought it hard, but lost. The house on Maple Grove had belonged to his grandmother, Eleanor Hayes. She'd died 2 years ago, leaving it to Connor. It was his only remaining property after the divorce, worth about $800,000 according to tax records. I cross-referenced Lauren's calendar with her supposed client meetings. The pattern was clear. Every Jennifer Dalton meeting corresponded with a time Connor was likely free. Every traffic delay happened on days when Connor didn't have court appearances. Those were public record, too. My phone buzzed. Lauren? Mom says hi. She's doing great. Going to be longer than expected. She wants to shop after lunch. Be home by 5. I looked at the time. 1:30 p.m. Her mother lived 2 hours away. If she was having lunch with her now, she'd left our city at 11:30. But I'd seen her enter Connor's house at 11:47. I texted back, "No problem. Take your time." Then I did something I'd never done in 9 years of marriage. I went through her things. Her credit card statements were all electronic now, but I knew her passwords. We'd shared them years ago for emergencies. No hotel charges, nothing obvious. But there were patterns. Charges at Victoria's Secret always preceded her difficult client meetings. Spa appointments before evening consultations. Cash withdrawals that didn't match our usual spending. Her jewelry box had new pieces I didn't recognize. A tennis bracelet that must have cost thousands. Diamond earrings she'd never worn around me. When had she gotten these? In her closet, pushed to the back, were shopping bags from Neiman Marcus. The receipts were gone, but the tags were still on some items. Lingerie that wasn't her usual style. A cocktail dress that would be inappropriate for her corporate events. By 4:30, I was sitting in the living room pretending to watch TV when Lauren came home. She was wearing different earrings than when she'd left. Her lipstick had been reapplied, but her hair was slightly messier than this morning, despite clearly having tried to fix it. "How was your mom?" I asked. "Good. She sends her love. Found some great deals at the outlet mall." "Where's your shopping?" "Oh, nothing really caught my eye. You know how it is." "I picked up your dry cleaning." "Thanks, honey." "I'm going to shower. Want to order Thai for dinner?" "Sure." As she headed upstairs, I called out, "Oh, Maria might stop by tomorrow. Wants to go over yesterday's data." "On a Sunday?" "You know how she is about getting publications out." "Well, I'll be at Jennifer's most of the day anyway." Another emergency with the catering company. Sunday morning, Lauren left at 10 a.m. "This might take all day," she said, kissing my cheek. "Jennifer's having a complete meltdown about the menu." I waited 15 minutes, then drove to Connor's. Lauren's car was in the driveway again. This time I parked closer, just one house down. I had binoculars in my truck, storm-chasing equipment, and used them to watch the house. At 11 a.m. they came out to the pool area. Connor was in swim trunks, Lauren in a bikini I'd never seen before. They were laughing, touching casually, comfortable with each other's bodies in a way that spoke of intimacy. I took photos with my phone through the binoculars. Nothing graphic, nothing that would embarrass anyone, just evidence, documentation, the same kind I'd take of storm damage for reports. They stayed by the pool for 2 hours, drinking wine, swimming, laying in the sun together. At one point, Connor took a call, pacing around the pool deck. Lauren watched him with an expression I recognized, the same one she'd had when we were first dating, when everything was new and exciting. I drove home and continued my research. Connor's specialty was interesting. High-asset divorces, particularly ones involving government employees. Federal employees had different benefit structures, pension plans that could be divided in specific ways. Connor had published articles about maximizing settlements when one spouse was a federal employee. 3 of his recent cases were particularly noteworthy. Each involved a spouse who worked in emergency services, firefighters, police, one FEMA coordinator. In each case, Connor had successfully argued that the working spouse's frequent absences constituted abandonment. He'd documented their work schedules, showing how often they were gone during crucial family times. In each case, the working spouse had been served divorce papers during their busiest season when they couldn't properly respond or find adequate representation. I pulled up our calendar. Lauren had marked next month with several Jennifer events, but tornado season peaked next month. I'd be gone constantly, chasing storms, coordinating emergency responses. Were they planning to serve me divorce papers during peak tornado season? Monday morning, my truck was ready. Lauren seemed relieved when I told her. "That's great. Not that I minded you using my car, but you know how I am about it." "I know. Thanks again for letting me borrow it." "Of course. What are wives for?" She kissed me goodbye, that same expensive perfume overwhelming my senses. When had she switched from her old scent? At work, Maria stopped by my office. "Nathan, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Is everything okay at home?" I looked up from the morning's weather models. "Why do you ask?" She shifted uncomfortably. "It's just, I've seen Lauren's car at this house on Maple Grove pretty regularly. Same house like 3 or 4 times a week, always late afternoon. 1247. Her eyes widened. "You know about it?" "Recently became aware." "What have you seen?" "Nathan, I don't want to cause problems." "Maria, please, just tell me what you've observed." She sat down. "I take Maple Grove to avoid highway traffic. Last few months, I've seen her car there all the time. Usually there when I pass around 4:30 on my way home. Sometimes still there when I go back out for evening observations." "How long has this been going on?" "Maybe 6 months? I thought maybe she had a client there." "That's what she told me." Jennifer Dalton. Maria pulled out her phone, did a quick search. "There's no Jennifer Dalton on Maple Grove. I checked because I thought maybe I could refer my sister. She's looking for an event planner." "The house belongs to Connor Hayes." "Connor Hayes? Why do I know that name?" "Lauren's ex from college. He's a divorce attorney." Maria's face went pale. "Oh, Nathan, I'm so sorry." "Nothing to be sorry about. You've just confirmed what I suspected." "What are you going to do?" "What I always do. Gather data, analyze patterns, make predictions, prepare responses." That evening, I watched Lauren more carefully. She was on her phone constantly, but tilted it away when I walked by. She went to bed early, claiming exhaustion from all her client meetings. When I joined her later, she was asleep, or pretending to be, turned away from me. Tuesday, I took a sick day. Told Lauren I was heading out early for storm prep. "Big system coming?" she asked, distracted by her phone. "Potentially. Need to position equipment. Be careful. Always am." Instead of storm chasing, I positioned myself where I could watch Connor's house. Lauren arrived at 4:08 p.m., right on schedule. I waited until she was inside, then did something I'd been planning. I called Connor's office. "Hayes Law Firm, how may I direct your call?" "I need to speak with Connor Hayes, please." "Mr. Hayes is unavailable this afternoon. May I take a message?" "When will he be back?" "He's in depositions until 6 p.m. "I see. No message, thanks. Depositions." But his car was in his driveway, and my wife was in his house. I called back an hour later, different receptionist. "Is Connor Hayes in court today?" "Let me check his calendar." "No, Mr. Hayes has no court appearances today. He's in client meetings all afternoon. Client meetings. At his house. With my wife. Wednesday was when things accelerated. The storm system I'd mentioned to Lauren materialized into a significant severe weather outbreak. While coordinating response from the weather station, I got a text from Lauren. Working late tonight. Jennifer's having another crisis. Don't wait up. I was genuinely busy with the storms until 9 p.m. 3 tornadoes touched down, one causing significant damage to a trailer park. We were coordinating with emergency management, issuing warnings, analyzing data in real time. But I still made time to drive by Connor's house at 10 p.m. Lauren's car was there. House lights were dim. Master bedroom window glowing soft amber. Thursday morning, Lauren was already gone when I woke up. Post-it note on the coffee maker. Early meeting. Long day ahead. Love you. I went to work but couldn't concentrate. The morning models showed nothing significant weather-wise, so I told my supervisor I needed to handle some personal business. Everything okay? Tom asked. Will be, I said. I drove to the courthouse. More public records research, but this time in person. I wanted to see the actual documents from Connor's recent cases. The patterns were even clearer in the full filings. Connor didn't just win these cases. He destroyed the working spouses, used their dedication to their jobs against them, painted them as absent, uninvolved, more married to their careers than their families. In one case, he'd argued that a firefighter's unpredictable schedule made him an unsuitable candidate for joint custody. In another, he'd claimed a police officer's dangerous profession put the family at risk. What would he argue about a storm chaser? That I deliberately put myself in danger? That I abandoned my wife during severe weather seasons? That my government salary wasn't enough to maintain her lifestyle? I photocopied everything, building my own file. That afternoon, back at the office, I called Derek, an old friend who worked in IT security for the state. Nathan. Long time. How's the weather? Stormy. Hey, I need a favor. Nothing illegal, just some public records research. Sure, what's up? Connor Hayes, divorce attorney. Can you see what public information is available on him? The Connor Hayes who just moved here from Dallas? That's him. Man, that guy's got a reputation. Why are you asking? Can't say yet. But I need to know everything that's publicly available. Give me a few hours. Derek called back at 6 p.m. Your boy Connor is interesting. 3 complaints filed with the state bar in Dallas. All resolved quietly, but the records suggest misappropriation of client funds. Misappropriation. Allegedly moving money from client trust accounts for personal use. Nothing proven, but he left Dallas right after the 3rd complaint. His license is under review here too. Seems someone filed a complaint last month. Who? Sealed, but the timing suggests it might be Patricia Hayes, his ex-wife. She's going after him. Looks like she discovered some financial discrepancies during the divorce proceedings. Hired a forensic accountant, found irregularities. Is he still practicing? For now, but if the state bar confirms the allegations, he'll be disbarred. This was bigger than an affair. Connor was in financial trouble, professional trouble, and he was involved with my wife. Friday morning, I made a decision. I called Rebecca Marshall, the most aggressive divorce attorney in the state. She was Connor's opposite, where he destroyed working spouses, she protected them. Nathan Cross, she said when I walked into her office, the meteorologist. I know who you are. How? Connor Hayes has been researching you. I keep tabs on what he's doing. He pulled your federal employment records, your benefit structure, your pension details. He's having an affair with my wife. I know. You know? Connor's not as discreet as he thinks. Several of us in the legal community have been watching him since Dallas. He follows patterns, targets the spouse of a high earner, usually someone with good benefits or pension, has an affair, gathers information, then represents the cheating spouse in the divorce. That's legal? Technically, unethical as hell, but hard to prove intentional targeting. She leaned forward. Unless we can document the pattern. I've been documenting everything. Good. What do you have? I showed her my file. Photos, timestamps, credit card records, the public records I'd gathered. Rebecca smiled. It was the kind of smile that made me think of the calm before an F5 tornado. They're planning to serve you during peak tornado season, aren't they? That's my assumption. Classic Connor move. Hit when you can't respond properly. She pulled out a legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to destroy both of them, legally and ethically. Connor's going to lose his license, and your wife is going to get exactly what she deserves. Nothing. How? First, we file for divorce immediately. Beat them to it. Texas is a no-fault state, but infidelity affects property division. Second, we report Connor's ethical violations to the state bar with documentation. Third, we expose his pattern to his current clients. Won't that make Lauren suspicious? Not if we're smart about timing. When's the next major storm system predicted? Tuesday. Significant severe weather outbreak expected. Perfect. You'll be legitimately busy. Meanwhile, I'll file everything simultaneously. By the time they realize what's happening, it'll be too late. What about assets? Move them now. Legally. Open individual accounts, transfer what you can. Document everything. She's been spending community property on her affair. That affects the division. I already started that process. Good. Now, here's the aggressive part. Your wife's been using company resources for personal activities, hasn't she? Meeting Connor during work hours while claiming to be with clients? Yes. That's fraud. We won't pursue criminal charges, but we'll make sure her employer knows. She'll lose her job, her reputation, and her leverage. This seems extreme. Nathan, they were planning to destroy you. Take your pension, claim alimony, paint you as an absent husband who prioritized storms over family. Connor's done it before. The only way to beat him is to strike first and strike hard. I spent the weekend pretending everything was normal. Saturday, Lauren claimed another Jennifer emergency. Sunday, she was gone most of the day for wedding venue scouting. Meanwhile, I moved our liquid assets to accounts only I controlled, documented every transfer, photographed every piece of evidence, built an unassailable case. Monday, I met with Rebecca again. I've been investigating Connor's other activities, she said. He's in deeper trouble than we thought. The Dallas complaints are serious. He took almost $200,000 from client accounts. How is he still practicing? He paid it back before formal charges were filed. But his ex-wife is pushing for criminal prosecution now. She found more evidence. This helps us? Enormously. When we expose this, no one will believe anything he says. Your wife chose to have an affair with a criminal. That plays well in property division. Tuesday's storm system was everything we'd predicted. Massive supercells, multiple tornadoes, significant damage across 3 counties. I was at the weather station from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., coordinating warnings, analyzing data, directing storm spotters. During a brief lull around 3 p.m., Rebecca texted me, "Papers filed. Connor served at his office. Lauren will be served at 4 p.m. at Connor's house. I smiled grimly and returned to the radar. A particular strong cell was developing near Maple Grove, not close enough to be dangerous, but close enough to notice. At 4:15, my phone rang. Lauren. I let it go to voicemail. She called 6 more times over the next hour. I was genuinely busy with the storms, but I also wanted her to stew. Finally, at 7 p.m., when the storms were weakening, I called her back. Nathan, where have you been? Coordinating tornado response. We've had 6 touchdowns, 2 fatalities, massive damage. Where are you? I'm at home. Nathan, we need to talk. About the divorce papers? Silence. Nathan, I can explain. No need. I have photographs, credit card records, documentation of every visit to Connor's house. My attorney has already filed my response. Your attorney? Nathan, please, this isn't what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair with Connor for 8 months. You've been planning to divorce me during tornado season when I couldn't properly respond. You've been feeding him information about my federal benefits. How did you? I'm a meteorologist, Lauren. I observe patterns. I analyze data. I predict outcomes. Nathan, please come home. We can talk about this. I'll be home when the storm response is complete. Tomorrow, maybe Thursday. In the meantime, I suggest you read the divorce agreement my attorney sent. You get the BMW, $20,000, and your personal belongings. Nothing else. That's ridiculous. Texas is a community property state. It is. But infidelity affects property division. So does dissipation of marital assets. Those spa treatments, the lingerie, the jewelry Connor bought you, all documented. Connor will destroy you in court. Connor's about to be disbarred. Check your phone. I hung up and returned to storm coordination. An hour later, Maria knocked on my door. Nathan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but have you seen the news? Weather news. No, local news. That attorney, Connor Hayes, he's been arrested. I pulled up the local news site. Prominent divorce attorney arrested for embezzlement. Connor's photo, the same confident one from his website, now a mugshot. My phone buzzed. Rebecca. Did you see? Just now, you moved fast. I had help. 3 other attorneys who Connor screwed over. We coordinated our complaints. The State Bar Emergency suspended his license an hour ago. What about Lauren? Her employer has been notified about the misuse of company time and resources. She'll be terminated tomorrow. Wednesday morning, while I was reviewing storm damage reports, Lauren texted, "They fired me. How could you do this?" I didn't respond. An hour later, Connor's in jail. His accounts are frozen. I can't even get my things from his house. Still no response from me. By noon, Nathan, please. I made a mistake. Can we talk? I finally replied, sign the divorce agreement. That's all we have to discuss. Thursday, I came home to find Lauren in the living room, surrounded by boxes. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair unwashed, wearing sweatpants I hadn't seen in years. I signed it, she said, handing me the papers. You destroyed my life. No. You destroyed your life when you chose to have an affair with a criminal and planned to take everything I'd worked for. I loved you, Nathan. No. You loved the stability I provided while you played house with Connor. You loved the federal benefits you were planning to take. You loved the image of being married to someone respectable while sleeping with someone exciting. That's not true. Really? Then why did you photograph my benefit documents? Why did you document my storm chasing schedule? Why did Connor have a file on me before you ever filed for divorce? She started crying. He said you didn't appreciate me. Said you cared more about storms than our marriage. I did care about storms. They're predictable. They follow patterns. They don't lie. Nathan, please. We can get counseling. Start over. The storm has passed, Lauren. Time to assess the damage and move on. She moved out that weekend. Connor was released on bail but immediately fled the state, violating his bail conditions. A warrant was issued for his arrest. Lauren tried to fight the divorce agreement, but without Connor and with the evidence of infidelity, she had no leverage. The divorce was finalized in 45 days. A month later, Maria and I were having coffee after a chase briefing. "How are you doing?" she asked. "Really doing?" "Better than expected. Like when a tornado misses your house by 100 yards. Grateful for the escape." Lauren's working retail now. My sister saw her at the mall. Good for her. Everyone needs a job. That's very generous of you. Not generous. Practical. Anger takes energy. I'd rather use that energy for useful things. Like storm chasing. 6 months after the divorce, I met Sarah at a conference on mesocyclone dynamics. She was presenting a paper on vorticity in supercells, and her passion for the subject was infectious. "Your analysis of the pressure perturbations is fascinating," I told her after her presentation. "Thanks. Your work on low-level jet interactions is what inspired it." We talked for 3 hours about atmospheric dynamics. She spoke my language. CAPE values, hotographs, bulk shear calculations. When she got excited about a particularly elegant mathematical model, her eyes lit up the way Lauren's used to when she saw expensive jewelry. "Want to get dinner?" I asked. "Continue the discussion." "Only if we can talk about storm-relative helicity," she said, smiling. "Is there anything else worth discussing?" We've been together for a year now. She joins me on storm chases, equally excited about mammotus clouds and wall cloud formations. She understands why I leave at 3 a.m. when the SPC issues a moderate risk. She doesn't complain when I'm gone for days during outbreak sequences. Last week, we were positioned on a stunning supercell in Oklahoma when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but I recognized Lauren's area code. "Hello? Nathan? It's Lauren." I stepped away from the equipment, watching Sarah adjust the camera settings for the approaching mesocyclone. "What do you need, Lauren?" I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. I know it doesn't change anything, but I was wrong. "Okay. Connor used me. He never cared about me. He just wanted information about your assets." "I know. He's in prison now." "I heard. 18 months for embezzlement. I'm dating someone new. He's nice, normal, works at the bank." "That's good, Lauren. Are you happy?" I looked at Sarah, who was now excitedly pointing at the rotating wall cloud, her hair whipping in the inflow winds, absolutely beautiful in her element. "Yes. I'm glad. I really am. You deserve someone who appreciates what you do." I found her. "The meteorologist? Sarah?" "Yes. She's lucky. I'm the lucky one." There was a pause. "Nathan? That day your truck broke down when you borrowed my car. If that hadn't happened, I would have found out eventually. Patterns always reveal themselves. Do you ever think about what we had? Like analyzing historical weather data. Interesting from an academic perspective, but not useful for current forecasting." She laughed, but it sounded sad. You always did see everything through weather metaphors. It's how I understand the world. I know. I should have understood that. Should have understood you. Too late for should haves. Take care, Lauren. You too, Nathan. I hung up and returned to Sarah, who was practically vibrating with excitement. It's about to drop, she said, pointing at the lowering rotation. Sure enough, 30 seconds later, a perfect elephant trunk tornado descended from the cloud base. We watched it together, documenting its every movement, sharing the adrenaline rush of witnessing nature's power. This is perfect, Sarah shouted over the wind. Yes, I agreed, but I wasn't talking about the tornado. That night in our hotel room, Sarah was reviewing the day's footage while I processed radar data. That was an exceptional storm, she said. The structure was textbook. The best one this season. She looked at me thoughtfully. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever regret what happened with Lauren? I considered the question. Do you regret thunderstorms that damage property? What? Storms are natural phenomena. They happen when conditions align. Some cause damage, some don't. But regretting them is pointless. You learn from them, improve your predictions, build stronger structures. So Lauren was a storm? Lauren was a high-pressure system masquerading as a low. Connor was the cold front that revealed her true nature. The collision was inevitable. Sarah laughed. Only you could describe divorce through meteorology. Is there any other way? She kissed me. This is why I love you. You see poetry in pressure gradients. You love my weather metaphors? I love your brain, your passion, the way you see the world. Lauren never understood that. Her loss, my gain. That night, I realized something important. Lauren and Connor had thought they were the storm, powerful and destructive. But they were just a squall line, impressive at first, but ultimately disorganized and self-defeating. I was the meteorologist. I saw them coming, tracked their movement, predicted their path, and took appropriate shelter. Then, when they'd passed, I assessed the damage, cleared the debris, and rebuilt stronger than before. The next morning, over breakfast, Sarah showed me a news article on her phone. Connor Hayes sentenced to additional 12 months for bail violation, she read. Captured in Montana trying to cross into Canada. 18 months plus 12. That's 2.5 years. Lauren must be devastated. Lauren's probably relieved. She can move on without his shadow. You're very forgiving. Not forgiving. Practical. Carrying anger is like trying to maintain rotation in a stable air mass. It requires too much energy. Another weather metaphor? Always. We spent the rest of the week chasing storms across Tornado Alley. 7 tornadoes, including one violent EF4 that we documented from beginning to end. Our data would improve warning times, save lives, advance the science. On the drive home, Sarah was quiet for a while, then said, "Thank you." For what? For surviving Lauren and Connor. If you hadn't, we wouldn't have found each other. Deterministic chaos, I said. Small variations in initial conditions lead to large-scale changes in outcomes. The butterfly effect. Exactly. My truck breaking down led to discovering the affair, led to the divorce, led to the conference where we met. So we should thank your old Suburban. Already did. Bought it from the government when they retired it. It's in my garage. Sarah laughed. You kept the truck that started everything? It's got sentimental value. Plus, it still runs. Sometimes. Like your first marriage? No, that's completely broken. No salvaging that system. We got home to find a package on my doorstep. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Lauren's. Inside was my old storm-chasing journal from our early years together. I'd thought it was lost. There was a note. Found this while packing. Thought you should have it. I read some entries. I understand now what I missed then. Be happy. I flipped through the journal. Notes about supercells, drawings of cloud structures, calculations of shear values. But also mentions of Lauren. How she'd waited up during a long chase. How she'd packed me sandwiches for a storm expedition. How beautiful she'd looked at our wedding with lightning flashing behind her. That was a different person, Sarah said, reading over my shoulder. Both of you were. Yeah, people change, like atmospheric conditions. Or they reveal who they always were. That too. I put the journal on my bookshelf between my other weather logs. History preserved but not dwelt upon. A year later, Sarah and I got married at the weather station. The ceremony was small, just family and close colleagues. Maria was Sarah's maid of honor. Tom was my best man. Rebecca Marshall attended, joking that it was nice to see me at a wedding that wouldn't end in her office. No storms in this forecast, I told her. You sure? You are storm chasers. We chase them together, Sarah said. That's the difference. During the reception, Tom pulled me aside. You know what impressed me most about the whole Lauren situation? What? You used your professional skills to handle a personal crisis. Treated it like a weather event. Observe, analyze, predict, respond. It's the only way I know how to process things. It worked perfectly. Not perfectly, but effectively. What would you have done differently? I thought about it. Trusted the initial data more. The signs were there earlier. Hindsight's 2020. In meteorology, we call it reanalysis, looking back at data to see what we missed. And what did you miss? Lauren never loved weather. She tolerated it. Sarah loves it as much as I do. That's the secret? That's the foundation. Everything builds from there. Later, during the reception, the weather radio went off. Tornado warning for the county next to ours. Half the wedding party, including Sarah in her wedding dress, rushed to the windows to watch the storm. Should we chase it? Sarah asked, eyes bright with excitement. It's our wedding day. So, what better way to celebrate? I looked at my bride, wedding dress, and storm chaser spirit and laughed. You're perfect. I know. Now come on, that cell's got great structure. We didn't chase that storm, but we watched it from the station's observation deck. Sarah still in her dress, me in my tux, surrounded by our weather-obsessed friends. 3 years have passed since then. Sarah and I have published 12 papers together, documented 43 tornadoes, and are expecting our first child. Connor Hayes is still in prison, though he'll be released soon. I heard he's planning to move to California when he gets out, start over where no one knows him. Lauren remarried last year. Her husband is an insurance adjuster, steady and reliable. They live in a suburb outside Houston. Maria mentioned she saw Lauren at a conference once, attending with her husband who was learning about weather damage assessment. She seemed happy, Maria reported. Content, maybe. Different from before. Good for her. Really? Everyone deserves a second chance at happiness. Even people who try to destroy you? Especially them. They have to live with their choices. That's punishment enough. Last month, during a particularly intense tornado outbreak, I was in the command center coordinating emergency response when my phone buzzed. Lauren's number. Tornado heading toward Houston. Are we safe? I pulled up the radar, checked her location against the storm path. You're clear. Storm will pass 5 miles east. Stay indoors until 9 p.m. Thank you. Congratulations on the baby, by the way. Thanks. Nathan, I'm sorry for everything. I know. Do you forgive me? I thought about it. I understand you. That's better than forgiveness. What do you mean? You were a different person then. So was I. Those people are gone. Replaced by better versions? By different versions. Whether better or not isn't for me to judge. You've changed. Atmospheric conditions are never static. She laughed softly. Still, the weather metaphors. Some things don't change. Take care, Nathan. You too. That evening, I got home to find Sarah assembling equipment for the next day's chase. Big system tomorrow, she said. Could be the outbreak of the season. I saw. Significant tornado parameters off the charts. Want to take the northern target or southern? You choose. Northern, better road network. Perfect. She looked up from the equipment. Who called earlier? Lauren, tornado warning for Houston. Is she okay? She's fine. Storm missed her area. Sarah nodded, returning to the equipment. No jealousy, no concern. She understood that the past was just historical data. You know what I love about us? She said suddenly. What? We speak the same language. Not just meteorology, but life. We see the world through the same lens. Lauren never understood that lens. Because she was looking at different things entirely. Exactly. That night, as Sarah slept beside me, her hand on her growing belly, I thought about patterns one final time. High pressure and low pressure, stable air and unstable air, the conditions that create storms and the conditions that create calm. Lauren and I had been incompatible systems from the start. Our collision created a destructive storm, but like all storms, it eventually dissipated. The damage was repaired. The atmosphere returned to equilibrium. Sarah and I were the same system, moving in harmony, strengthening each other, creating something beautiful and powerful together. My phone showed tomorrow's convective outlook. High risk, violent tornadoes possible, the kind of day storm chasers live for. It's going to be incredible, Sarah murmured in her sleep, somehow sensing my thoughts. Yes, I agreed. It really is. The storm that was Lauren and Connor had passed. It had been devastating at the time, but I'd survived it using every skill I'd learned in 20 years of storm chasing. Patience, observation, strategic positioning, careful documentation. Most importantly, I'd learned that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's survival. It's rebuilding. It's finding someone who shares your passion and building something stronger than what was destroyed. Connor thought he could use my storm chasing against me. Lauren thought my passion for weather was a weakness. They never understood that storm chasing had taught me everything I needed to survive them. How to see danger coming from miles away. How to position myself for safety. How to document everything. How to recover after devastation. How to find beauty even in destruction. Tomorrow, Sarah and I would chase storms together, reading the sky like a familiar book, finding poetry in the violence, protecting lives with our warnings while documenting nature's power. And somewhere, Lauren would check her weather app, finally understanding the language she'd ignored for 9 years, living an ordinary life with an ordinary man while the extraordinary passed her by like a storm she never saw coming. The greatest revenge wasn't destroying her life. It was removing myself from it and building something infinitely better. Like the atmosphere after a major outbreak, cleansed, renewed, and ready for whatever comes next.